I have another question for you. You've seen a lot with AOC and with the squad, and they made a lot of noise when Trump was president about the border. And I know that's a huge concern for folks in Texas, particularly in your district and south of your districts, of course. But like where you'll be, dealing with the whole state. So that's a very big topic, right? Is immigration and the wall and all of that, and the environmental impacts that the wall is having, et cetera. But what has been the frequency of the Biden administration even going down to these centers? And what about immigration? What are you hearing from your constituents? And what is the message they want to get through by voting for you?
I would say our supporters are very sympathetic to refugees and people who are fleeing colonialism and imperialism.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just that's the bar, you have to at least be sympathetic to people's suffering. And most of our supporters do not support caging people for profit. That's a disgrace to our human nature. So that's where we are. As far as people, because I talk to people of all political backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think I hear a little bit of the propaganda coming through. And, when we have these conversations, I just try to ask people to think critically, like, do you support people dying needlessly to violence? And do you support, us spending all this money to cage people and, force women to undergo hysterectomies without their consent and separate children from their families and basically treat people worse than animals? And they're like, well, no, I don't support that. And I'm like, well, if you don't support immigration reform, then you do support those things. And that's kind of, some people are like, a lot of it is fear. They're not sure what that means for them. They're worried about their own financial health and well-being. And to an extent, I do understand that, but the conversations we have are really more or less like getting to the roots of that. You're a humanitarian. You know what I mean? You don't really want people to suffer like that. So it is hard because those conversations are not comfortable. And it's important though.
So have you seen AOC down at the border? Like she was crying tears not too long ago, and some other representatives from the Biden administration. Have they been frequenting Texas at all or no?
No, I think AOC came down a few months ago and met a heckler. And, because, consistently they are voting for war. Consistently, if it's not Ukraine and NATO, it's Israel, or, there's all these talks.
Afghanistan.
Right. And so that's, a big area of our platform as Greens is defunding the military. And obviously in Texas, the prison industrial complex is so massive in the state. So that's a lot of, I just see it as wasted resources. We're not taking any kind of approach towards making our community safer with all these prisons, people who, you know what I mean? It's not an improvement. So
yeah, Maria Butina was on my show. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but she was visiting and of course was accused of being a spy. She pled guilty because she couldn't get a fair trial, but it was on a technicality that she was imprisoned, and they put her in solitary for months, and she was not a threat. But she discussed the prison conditions, and she discussed how it changed her view, her worldview. She was kind of a conservative Republican, and she had kind of connected with them while she was in the US. And then she became, actually in prison, she said that she got socialist ideas. And also she noticed that all of the prisoners besides herself were Black and brown. They, she was Russian, right. So she was an exception. And she said that the racism was unbelievable, and the abuses, and she wrote a book about it, which she's trying to get over here, but it's hard because we censor everything from Russia. So
yeah,
she talked about the prison industrial complex. And doesn't Texas have the highest amount besides California of prisons? Am I right statistically?
Yeah, statistically, we are definitely one of the, if not the top, at least one of the top three as far as caging people, because it's not just the prison. I mean, ICE is an extension of that arm. And so we've got a lot of people that have been taken by immigration and caged that way completely. All of these people are presumably innocent and legally seeking refuge here and being caught up in this for-profit caging system. So yeah, it's pretty bad. I think again, I most people that I talk to are just they're worried about how they're gonna feed their family. They're worried about, how they're gonna get to work and not having to worry about getting into an accident, where they can't pay their bills. But
Yeah.
being in Green Party and being among leftist circles and people who are, socialists and people who, care about others,
Mhm.
it's one of those issues where it's like we have to start somewhere, like
Right,
it's such a
right.
big, massive problem at this point. Yeah, again, there are wasted resources. And as a person who's concerned with sustainability, you think about all of the, what I mean, like the waste involved
Mhm.
in materials and hiring all the staff and just it's like a self-serving machine and it only churns out pain and misery and
Yeah.
any other description of it is very untruthful. So
Well, I mean, I think people would push back because crime has risen, right? And that there's no, I mean, statistically, it has risen in the United States, violent crime right now. And I think it speaks more to economic disparity and desperation